Now, I've changed my portfolio for about the third time now, and it kind of seems like very hypocritical because I'm known on YouTube as the most boring guy, and my whole thing is the long-term team. So tell me, if you're all about the long-term, why are you changing your portfolio 3 times now? The answer is, well, it's been about 4 years, and I strongly believe this. The best portfolio is not the one that makes you the most money, it's the one that keeps you in the game for longest. I've seen people with better portfolios than me, but whenever things go wrong, they end up selling out and not investing any money and being scared. And what I've learned through life, through investing over the past 4 or 5 years, this way, the passive way, is that, again, the best portfolio is the one that makes sense for you, the one that keeps you in the game for longer. Now, I've made several changes here. I changed my brokerage, I changed my actual portfolio, my investment strategy, and I also changed the amount of money I invest. And in this video, I'm going to break everything down, but I will say also one thing. Although we are a part of the long-term team, although I do believe that boring works all the time, right? It's just you repeating things. I do not believe in being an idiot because of bad habits, okay? The idea is, if I come to you or if you come to me and you tell me, Tommy, the way you've been doing something for X amount of time, although it gives you this result, if you do it this way, here are the results you're going to get. And if you prove that to me, I have to be willing to listen and to see if it actually makes sense for me to change that. You cannot be the person with a hammer in a toolbox because everything in life is going to seem like a nail. You have to have a multitude of tools. That way you approach every problem with a different solution, okay? That's the idea. You have to be flexible enough to listen and to stay open, okay? Now, as always, guys, like this video on top of also subscribe and hit the bell so you get notified. Now, the very first thing is, guys, this. I hate switching places where I invest, so I really do believe that this is gonna be my last change as far as changing brokerages. Now, by the way, when I first started investing, I was investing with ETrade. That's how long I've been in this game, okay? I was investing with ETrade, and back then, they used to charge like $10 every time you bought a stock and every time you sold a stock. So you had to be very careful because fees were not a joke. And then I switched over to Robinhood because basically, Robinhood was offering, for example, free trades. But then I realized that Robinhood was all about like gambling and buying this and buying that. It really wasn't for the long-term person. So then I went ahead and I switched over to acorns, and I felt like this is the place. I pay $1 a month, no big deal. Then they raised it to $3, no big deal. But then they changed the portfolio all of a sudden. And I was like, how is this long term if you're just gonna change things whenever you feel that it's appropriate, okay? And I did not like that. So then I switched over everything over to M1 Finance, where I basically created my own portfolio and I kept the money in there. And to me, that made the most sense. Now, here's the problem. I moved over to Puerto Rico, and I also understand that M1 Finance is a great app, but it's also a new platform, and it doesn't really have that much money in assets relative to my new platform, which is basically Vanguard. Vanguard has been around for, I don't know, like longer than me, longer than you, and everybody else in this video put together. Like, they basically invented the index fund, okay? And they managed basically, I don't even know how much money, like a lot of money, like all the money, okay? That's how long, like between Vanguard, Fidelity, and Schwab's, they are the biggest brokerages as far as everything. And to me, if I'm gonna put my money somewhere, right, for the long term, 40, 50, 60 years, I wanna make sure that company is going to be around forever, because you might say, Tommy, well, there's insurance up to like 250K, you know what I'm saying? You're gonna be, $500,000, you're gonna be just fine. The answer is kinda, but like you really wanna have your money somewhere that the risk of something happening is like very minimal. And honestly, I haven't been a big fan of all the things that M1 Finance has been doing. For example, like getting into credit cards and getting, for example, into crypto and getting into this and that. It's not really what I like, and that's really what I'm changing. Like, all that stuff, plus Vanguard is just a lot more simple, been around for a lot longer, the customer service is great, and that's why I'm switching over to Vanguard. Now, when I say switching, you guys know, I only come to you guys once I've done something, okay? Because I'm only gonna tell you to do something if I already done it, and it's up to you, okay? But I've already started to transfer over my assets from M1 Finance over to Vanguard, all right? Now, that's just so you guys know, because I like being transparent, and I told you the reasons why. Your reason might be different, it's all up to you. Now, number two, guys, is I switched my portfolio. And again, I believe this wholeheartedly. I believe the best portfolio is not the one that makes you the most money, it's the one that keeps you in the game for longest. So for the past, when I first started investing into, for example, a long-term way, I had like around $7 I was going to invest because all of my money was basically invested into businesses and basically making me more money a lot faster. So I really wasn't interested in it, but I wanted to dip my feet in. And this portfolio was very simple. I had 80% stock ETFs, which were around like 5 ETFs, and then 20% into bond ETFs, which is about like 2 like corporate and treasury bonds. And my whole idea was very simple. I wanted to make sure as I built my confidence up as an investor that whenever the market crashed, I wouldn't feel that much because of the bonds I actually had in there. Now, once I figured out that this absolutely was a joke and it made no sense because overall it was gonna cost me money in the long term because basically stocks outperformed the bonds, I said, okay, I'm just gonna go 100% stock ETFs, and I did that. And I had 5 ETFs. I had money, for example, into the US market. I had money in the small cap market. I have money, for example, in the international market, in the real estate market, and also into the emerging stock market, okay? And to me, that was pretty cool, okay? Because I was basically spread out everywhere. And that's awesome. And by the way, I went from $7 to maybe like my first 100K invested with that 80-20 portfolio, and then 100K to like around 200K with that 100% portfolio. And then I finally said, you know, this is all great and it keeps me diversified because if America's down, you know, the rest of the market might be up or the international market might be up. But then overall I figured out that, hey, why am I invested into so many things when overall I can just put my money into just one investment? And that's where I put my money, for example, just into 100% into one ETF and one index fund. And that's basically the S&P 500. And that's basically it, okay? That's where all my money's invested. And the reason is very simple, because if the US does go down, because by the way, we're the #1 economy, if the US does go down, like everything goes down, okay? It's just really that simple once you understand economics. And it's kind of like, why am I doing all this other stuff just for the sake to not see that much volatility? And either way, I'm gonna be invested over the long term, so it really doesn't matter. Now, my choice came down to one simple question, and it's basically, Tommy, do you believe that the US is going to be better off tomorrow than it is today? And my answer was absolutely yes. So that's why I just put my money, all of it, into the S&P 500. Now, is that for you? The answer is it depends, okay? The reason I was investing all these different ways for the past 5 years basically was because I wanted to build up my confidence. If I had invested directly into this portfolio from the very beginning, I would have made more money, but I probably wouldn't have kept investing because I would have experienced a lot more like heavy volatility when I didn't really comprehend what volatility was. So those portfolios were needed to me as I basically built up my confidence. So that's why I invest the way I invest today. Now, the last part is this, guys. I switched over the amount of money that I'm going to be investing. Now, there are 2 things I invest into currently right now, or just really one thing, but different ways, okay? And that's basically most of my money, like around like 99% of it. It goes into the stock market, okay? I love stock market. That's what I love to do. So overall, there are 2 methods. You have the active method and you have the passive method. Passive method is basically you put your money into boring stuff. The ETFs, in this case, just for example, into the S&P 500. And by the way, I'm doing VOO or VOO, whatever you want to call it, and I put that into Vanguard, and that's basically it. Whether you want to do the index fund, the mutual fund, or whatever you want to call it, because an index fund is just a type of mutual fund, okay? But overall, all right, I had the whole idea of saying, by the way, active investing is picking individual stocks like Apple and Tesla and Microsoft, and if they make money, you make money, but if they go down, you lose money because you're putting your money into just one investment, and you got to understand how it actually works, and you got to understand it's actually a business. You got to know how to value it, and that takes time and intrinsic value and Warren Buffett and all this stuff, right? It takes a lot of work, like 4-8 hours a day to actually do that. And for a very long time, I was not willing to do that, and now I am doing it, okay? I spend like 6, not really 6, about, I would say on average, I spend around, I would say like 4.5 times 2, that's 9, and 9 plus 4.5, that's around, I spend around like 13.5 to 14 hours a week just like looking at investment books and so on. That's what I love to do now. But the overall idea is, my idea was going to be this. I was going to put 80% of all of my money into just picking stocks. Then 20% of all my money into the boring stuff, okay? That was it. So I was going to put 80% of all my money into me actually going ahead and picking stocks and so on, and then the 20% of my money into the boring stuff, the S&P 500, to build it up over time and to have that there. Now what I realized is that, I had to humble myself, because the more I learn, again, I'm the type of person that once I realize the truth, I cannot continue to do the same stupid stuff. I just cannot. I can't do it, okay? It just doesn't allow me. My brain doesn't work that way. So the idea was very simple. I realized that I follow 3 people very closely. That's Warren Buffett, Charlie Munger, and also Peter Lynch. Those investors are like my favorite of all time. And I realized that when it came to Warren Buffett, you always hear the story that, hey, he started investing at age 11. No, he bought his first stock at age 11. He wasn't really investing, okay? He started investing more like at the age of maybe like 22 or like 19, when he actually got, well, not like, more like in his 20s. That's when he actually went to Columbia and he met Benjamin Graham, and he was actually working under him. And that was pretty cool, because that's when everything started to flow. But there was this whole period where he had to learn everything to then go ahead and put into practice with his own money, and then appear when he actually uses other people's money. But there was this learning period of years. And then I remember Charlie Munger. And Charlie Munger, when he met Warren Buffett, he was about 28 years old. Charlie was. Don't remember what age Warren was. And I remember, or maybe 32. I don't know who was 28. Somebody was 28. Now, I remember this, and I remember that Warren Buffett wanted him to start investing into stocks, but Charlie Munger wasn't ready. And he had this whole period, again, of just saving up money and stacking it up and making sure his family was okay. And then finally, he started picking stocks, okay? And then Peter Lynch, he started out with small amounts and then got to managing this big fund. And the whole idea behind this very long story is that all the people that I admire the most, they started from humble beginnings, and they got everything adjusted in a sense. Because when Warren Buffett came back from New York and he went to Omaha, he had enough money to basically retire. Okay, that's the cool thing. And then he was able to basically do everything with other people's money. Because the whole thing with investing, what I've learned so far from reading all these books, is that it's not about being smart. For the most part, it's about knowing what to avoid. And for the second part, it's about knowing how to control your temperament, your emotions. And can you imagine trying to put all your money into this one egg while you're trying to worry about bills or your family or your kids? It's very hard to do. So I realize that's why that's such an important factor, to manage everything first, and then you worry about, for example, doing that. Now, here's my plan, okay? Here's my plan currently right now. As I say this, it is right now, 2022. My plan is very simple. My plan is to switch it from 80-20 into the active and passive, to switch it to 90-10. And what this means is 90% of my money is going to go into just the passive stuff, the boring stuff, for the next 4 years or so. That means that by the time I'm 30 years old, I'm gonna be done with that part. And the goal is to spend the next 4 years with just that 10% of my money, just learning more and practicing it, and actually like building a base on my craft when it comes to picking stocks. And you might say, Tommy, well, that's very counterintuitive, right? Because you think about it, 90% of your money over here is going to make 11%. Well, if this works out for you, you can actually make, for example, 15% or 20% or even more money, right? But the idea is that investing this 90% over here is going to allow me to invest at 10% with an extreme amount of confidence. And again, the best strategy is not the one that makes you the most money, it's the one that keeps you in the game. And that's why everything I do, I go at a very steady pace. I'm kind of like a turtle. Everyone thinks a turtle is slow. No, the turtle is going at a steady pace to actually accomplish a goal, and the turtle is focused. So my goal is very simple. 90% boring stuff, 10% into active stuff, to learn, to build confidence, to do it every single day, and to just get a lot better. So by the time I hit age 30, and you think about it, right? The goal is simple. By age 30, I want to have $1 million net worth. I'm being honest, transparent. You guys know me, okay? Tell you everything, maybe too much. But I want to have $1 million net worth. And if the math adds up, if everything goes well, if God allows it, I will have it. Now, this basically means that when you have $1 million net worth, you have no debt, you have a paid off home, which I already have, and all this other stuff, you're able to operate this side of the business with a lot more confidence. Now, once I switch over, once I'm 30, I'm gonna switch over from 90 over here to 90 on the active side and 10 on the passive side forever, like in continuum. So this basically means by this point, what I'm gonna be able to do is basically, if I keep investing into this career, which everything accumulates and just keeps going and going and going and going, because as an investor, what you basically are is a collector, and you're collecting things, and as long as you don't run out of money, you're gonna be just fine if you're smart about what you're doing. So if I do that, by the time I turn like, I don't know, like 80, what is it, like 80 years old, I have like over $600 million, okay? That's the whole operation. And these goals seem very extreme, very crazy, but I know they're very doable if God allows it. So this is the whole thing, guys. So this is why I'm doing things the way I'm doing it. So this basically means, now, this is my plan. Doesn't have to be your plan, because this plan requires a lot of work, a lot of time. But if you're just a long-term team member and you're just worried about, Tommy, I just want to make some money passively, I'm fine with all that investing stuff. The idea is simple. You keep investing your money just into the S&P 500 if you want to copy what I do, and you just keep doing it forever. And I recommend 20%. I recommend focusing on paying off your home fast, staying out of debt, having an emergency fund, and that's basically it. And by the time you hit like $1 million, you'll be like probably like 35 or 30 or like 40, and you'll be just fine, okay? It all depends on what you want to do. And Tommy, why do you want to accumulate so much money? Again, like, it's not for me really. I really want to help people. So by having all this money, I'm going to be able to do my ultimate goal, which I've spoken about here before, but I'm going to reserve it just for now. So if you know, you know. But if you don't know, you'll find out pretty soon. Now, guys, as always, guys, like this video, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell so you get notified. But that's the goal, that's the plan, that's what's happening. So just to resume everything here, I switched over to Vanguard officially. That's gonna be my new home. And I went ahead and I switched over to just one ETF as an investment, so just the S&P 500. And then thirdly, I went ahead and I put 90% of all my money into the boring stuff, which is just the S&P 500. And then 10% of my money is gonna be put in, for example, into the active fund stuff. But it's really more just about knowing and telling myself, Tommy, you have these 4 years, here's your record, here's by how much points you basically beat the market, and you're actually able to get started. The last thing I wanna do is take 90% of my money, put it in there, and next thing you know, I make some big stupid mistakes, because I know I will make mistakes, because even Warren and Charlie did, and Peter did. So if they did it, I'm gonna make mistakes, but I'd rather make mistakes with 10% until I build up the confidence to say, hey, this is it. I got it. I got it down packed, okay? I will miss opportunities. That's a part of the game. That's fine. I'm willing to take that fee in this game. As always, guys, thanks for watching. Comment down below. I made it, so I know you made it all the way to the end. Actually, comment down below 90-10. So I know you actually made it all the way to the end. That's 90, like the number 90-10. So I know you made it all the way to the end. As always, peace out. Long-term team out. Up here, another video. Praise my face. Close subscribe. And as always, keep saying that word, huh? Peace. Long-term team out.